Hello and welcome to Choir Repertoire. Today I will be talking about an anthem by John Blow called The Lord Hear Thee in the Day of Trouble. Let me start by introducing to you this composer. The English Baroque composer, organist and music teacher John Blow was born in 1649. In spite of his humble origins, at 20 years old he emerged as one of the most important musicians in England and had become a Dr. Blow, receiving his doctorate in music from the Dean and Chapter of Canterbury in 1677. In the borough of Newark, where he grew up, his talent for singing was quickly recognized. By the winter of 1660, he was selected to sing as a choir boy in the Chapel Royal, the religious institution that concerned itself with the royal family's spiritual needs. Blow was still a chorister when he composed some of his earliest anthems. Already by 1668, so at the age of 19, he was appointed to the prestigious position of organist of Westminster Abbey. He would later pass this function on to his pupil, colleague and good friend Henry Purcell, and eventually returned to it after Purcell's death. This was the first of many important appointments, making him one of the most influential musicians of his time. In 1685 he was engaged as a private musician to King James II. In 1687 he became choir master at St. Paul's Cathedral, where many of his sacred compositions were performed. He ended his career as composer to the Chapel Royal, a post that was created for him. When he died in 1708, he was buried in Westminster Abbey, close to Henry Purcell's grave. Blow said himself that he rated his sacred music more highly than his other compositions. He wrote many services, 14 in total, but his anthems are the most well known, and he composed more than 100 anthems in his lifetime. Although his secular music is also important, it is overshadowed by his achievements in religious music. He wrote a large number of odes for royal occasions, some songs, and also one composition for the stage called Venus and Adonis. In this video, I'm going to present you one of the anthems of Blow with the title The Lord Hear Thee in the Day of Trouble. The text of this anthem is taken from Psalm 20, quoting verses 2 to 5. The Lord hear thee in the day of trouble. The name of God of Jacob defend thee. Send thee help from the sanctuary, and strengthen thee out of Zion. Remember all thy offerings, and accept thy burnt sacrifice. Grant thee thy heart's desire, and fulfill all thy mind. The message of these verses is that God will answer your call when in distress, in the words of the psalm, in the day of trouble. So long as your goal is a righteous one and you faithfully follow his commandments, expressed by the words, remember all thy offerings and accept thy burnt sacrifice. The exact date of this composition is not known, but may well have been composed during the execution of his duties as composer to the Chapel Royal. The original manuscript is held in Christ Church Library in Oxford, which we have not been able to consult. The Choir Repertoire website therefore contains a transcription of the music made available to us by William Boyce in the book titled Cathedral Music, published in 1768. The The composition can be regarded as divided in 4 sections, all of which are quite different. I will guide you through these 4 sections, elaborating concisely about the form and the harmonic and melodic progression. The first section, bars 1 to 10, is homophonically conceived and repeats the first part of the second verse of the psalm once in succession. The very last part of this is once more repeated each time, emphasizing the message in the day of trouble. The textual repeat echoes many of the same rhythms of the first. After beginning in the overall key of the piece, B flat major, the music moves between different harmonies to end this section in F major. The second section, bars 11 to 17, is completely different, even though we have only moved on to the second part of the same verse. Now the text receives full polyphonic treatment with separate staggered imitative entries. The third section spans bars 17 to 25. This time it is the bass line that unsettles the harmonic and tonal stability with a chromatically raised progression from B flat to B natural on the word help, and thus lending it emphasis. The sharp dotted rhythms reinforce this urgent message and quite naturally mimic speech rhythm. The fourth section, bars 26 to 60, deal with verses 4 and 5 of the psalm text. For the final and longest section, Blow begins it by sharply changing direction in time value. Visually, the unit of time has changed from a crotchet to a minim. Usually the first beat receives the accentual emphasis, but as is typical of this style of writing, the dancing quality of the rhythm is enhanced by sometimes being thrown onto the second beat of the bar, for example in bar 28 on thy. Rather beautifully, for the words grant thee thy heart's desire, there is a hint of doubt at the impossibility of the task and the reminder of the torment underlying their wish to free David's people, with the distressed dissonances in bar 40. The soprano C sharp rudely clashes with the F in the altos. The cadence in bar 42-44 is built up by way of a typical rhythmic hemiola. In this case, when triple time is temporarily thrown into double time for a brief period. As always, there's a lot more to be said about this composition. We haven't touched dynamics, for example. In our other videos, which you can find on Patreon, we discussed this and also other important aspects. We explain the harmonic structure in much more detail. We discuss tempo and how to treat the meter change in the fourth part. Of course, we also explain several performance parameters and how to handle the magnificent dissonances and following solutions to get maximal musicality out of them. Hope to see you there.